Welcome back, YouTube. Outcast Andrew here with another video, and this time we're going to be talking about 2v8 mode. Now, it may be controversial for me to say, but I'm a huge fan of 2v8. Every time it comes out, I play a ton of it. I duo with my friends, have a really good time, both on Killer and on Survivor. The question that's always asked is, what killers should be added to 2v8? What killers wouldn't work in 2v8? And today, we're going to be going through every single killer, and I'll be giving my reasons why I think they do or don't belong in 2v8 mode. This isn't based on anything other than my opinion based on the way the game works and how killer mechanics work. I'll be giving some reasons why I do or don't think killers belong in 2v8, but at the end of the day, it's just my opinion. If you like it, great. If you don't, feel free to argue with me. So let's get started. So first thing I did was I just took out all the killers who are already available in 2v8 and put them in the bottom tier list. So we're gonna go through the killers in order, starting with Michael Myers. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to put Myers in no. Behavior currently doesn't have rights to the license, so they definitely won't be able to put Myers into a different mode, not to mention the fact that you can't purchase him anymore. I personally can't wait till we get him back. I'm 90% sure we will. I don't think the Halloween game is going to do very well based on the track record of the developer. I'll definitely play it, but we saw what they did with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game. No asymmetrical game really lasts all that long against Dead by Daylight. It's just too hard doing it with one IP versus multiple. That's a whole other opinion. You can argue with me on that if you like. As far as 2v8 goes, I'm not going to talk about it too much. Could be kind of hard to balance him because you'd basically have infinite stock on everybody, so you'd have almost infinite tier 3 or evil incarnate mode. So it's maybe better that we don't need to talk about him. Next up, we have the Hag. I'm going to put Hag into the maybe slot. The reason I put her into maybe is I kind of think she's actually too weak for 2v8. Trapper has setup time, but at least Trapper's traps injure and potentially down survivors if either of the killers go get them. Hag just tells you where they are and lets you teleport to them. It's going to be hard to coordinate with your teammate, and it's going to be hard to actually secure downs on people. You have 8 survivors running around, potentially stepping in your traps. You literally won't be able to teleport to every broken trap. Survivors can basically break them and run away from them, constantly teleporting back and forth with no time to reset your traps. And not to mention the fact you're 4.4 in chase. I just feel like it would be miserable to play and really easy to counter for survivors. If she were to come in, she would need extra traps, massive range increase. So we're gonna put her in maybe. She needs a lot of work to be viable. Next up, we have the Doctor, and that's a very easy yes for me. Doctor is a low mobility killer. Because of his shock abilities, he has excellent slowdown and also has excellent map information for both you and your partner. Think about the tag team potential where you shock somebody before they can get to a pallet and Billy or Oni can down them before getting to any resources. I think there could be some really neat synergy there. And like I said, as long as you have hallucinations popping up on the map, you could get information kind of like zombies give you information with Nemesis. So Doctor could be a great pick, and I definitely want to see him in 2v8. As far as what he needs, I would say definitely give him range on his shocks, give him base kit discipline so his shocks have less delay. You could give him both King or Queen as a base kit. Queen might be a little strong, but it would really slow down the game for survivors. King would be interesting because you'd be getting all the sort of effects when you get shocked and get into madness. You can get all the different effects of the hallucinations and the fake pallets and whatnot. So next up, we've got Bubba. I'm gonna say maybe for Bubba, and the reason why is, listen, I would love to have Bubba in 2v8. I feel like he's a little too weak. He's too weak. He shreds pallets, but pallets are everywhere and can be rebuilt, and he's not very mobile, so getting across the map is going to be slow and difficult for him. The one reason I say maybe and not no is multiple downs in one chainsaw could be amazing. It could be like Oni, but less mobile, but no cooldown on power, just always having power. So it could be a nice balance. It's potential. Bubba would definitely need speed and duration of his chainsaw sweeps, and you could even maybe give him base kit Eerie Flesh so that every time he gets a chainsaw, he refreshes his charges and can continue to chainsaw. That could be huge. That could also be overpowered. Survivors would have to get used to spreading out. So there is potential for him to be a yes, but I put him in maybe just because I feel like the downsides are too much compared to the upsides. Next up, we've got Freddy. Freddy, like Doctor, is an easy yes. Since Freddy's rework, he's really great in chase. He's incredibly mobile. He's able to teleport to all the generators around the map. Mobility is really important for killers. If you don't play Killer, one thing to learn is mobility is really important for killers to be able to pressure multiple areas of the map at the same time. Otherwise, if you're somebody like, say, Ghostface, and even if you're chasing and stalking people on one side of the map, survivors are free to do gens on the other side of the map. If the other killer's over there, fine, but then you'd be doing an M1 chase with 1,000 pallets. Freddy can be really strong at shutting down pallets. His fake pallets can help him zone, and he can teleport across the map, which is fantastic. His fake pallets might be kind of useless to preset because survivors would just throw them. There's gonna be 8 survivors running around in a massive map. Presetting fake pallets around might be kind of a waste of time, but you could set them mid-chase and use them to zone away from key locations and pallets. The flip side is you could potentially buff Freddy and make it that when a survivor throws a fake pallet, it either puts them to sleep or adds to their sleep meter. I think that would be a good way to offset the fact that they'd be kind of worthless on a big map. I would say the only 2 real buffs he needs in 2v8 would be faster cooldown on teleport and a lot more fake pallets. Pig is going to be my first no, other than Myers. There's a reason why. Listen, I love me some Pig. Pig is a combination of too strong and too weak at the same time. Pig's chase potential is incredibly weak. In 2v8, there are a ton of pallets, so even if you give up pallet control to Pig and Pig goes in for a dash, you can very easily leave that pallet and get to another one before the dash comes through and hits you. I don't think Pig would have a very good time, even with stealth. And then there's the flip side of it. If either killer downs a survivor and Pig is able to put the reverse bear trap on their head, that survivor is essentially dead. As soon as they get unhooked, they can get camped at the pig boxes, and it's going to be miserable. Now you have 2 killers to avoid instead of 1. I just think Pig is just far too weak and the bear traps are far too strong. So I just unfortunately think she doesn't belong. The Clown. Once again, yes, you might be seeing a pattern here. Killers that are good at denying loops by either slowdown or the Doctor's Shock, I think would be great for 2v8. Great chase potential, good mobility using the speed bottles to get across the map. And Clown can be kind of miserable to go against in 1v4. But the nice thing about 2v8 is there's so many pallets that it actually might make him more bearable to play against. I also think there's some really cool double team potential. When Clown makes someone scream with their pink bottles, the second killer will be able to see where that chase is taking place and potentially come over and help. Imagine someone being slowed by a pink bottle and a cross-map chainsaw comes in from a Billy. Same can be said for lots of different killers. You can get a long-range snipe with Pyramid Head. You could get a great blink with Nurse, of course, Oni, etc., etc. So I think that Clown could be really strong, but also with lots of pallets can make the 1v1ing him a little bit less oppressive than normal. Legion, I'm going to put in no. They've obviously tried Legion. Legion was a little bit miserable. I have to say, I kind of disagree with them removing Legion, although I understand why. I think what they could do, I think in an ideal world, you would be able to deny certain team ups. Like you'd be able to deny Legion and Oni, just so that you don't get that permanent mending simulator mixed in with Oni having infinite blood around the map. But I think that Legion with other killers isn't so bad. Unfortunately though, behavior's already kind of spoken on it, so we're gonna put them in no for now and leave it at that. Plague, I'm putting in maybe, and it's interesting, I'm talking about Plague right after talking about Legion. The issue with Plague obviously is the permanent injury again. It would be miserable going against a Plague Oni, for the same reason why it was miserable going against the Legion with Oni. It would also be insanely strong with good chase killers like Nurse. Imagine everyone's injured, so Nurse can one blink everybody. That would be a little bit broken. People would essentially have to cleanse in order to not be injured all the time, which would give Plague basically infinite power. And what you would probably end up having would be Plague walking around just infecting everybody and letting the other killer finish off with getting downs. The way you could balance it, if they were to put her in, maybe you make it so that Plague can't directly infect objects. So no generators, no windows, no pallets. She has to get a direct hit on a survivor. If a fully infected survivor then vaults a pallet, vaults a window, works on a generator, that would infect it. That could potentially work, but you again would still have people going and cleansing a lot. If she had to directly infect people, that might make it fair, but I still think she's going to be a maybe just based on the synergies that she has with several other killers. Demogorgon is another easy yes for me. He feels similar to Wesker in that he has his shred attack, which is kind of similar to the dash attack. Shreds will be great both for chase and for shredding pallets. You don't have to waste too much time shredding pallets to continue a chase. He has the mobility of the portals, which can be good, although it's with 8 survivors, it might be a little bit rough keeping your portals up. They'd be able to get rid of them pretty quickly. So I think Demogorgon would be a good choice, but he definitely needs some buffs. We need faster portal placement, faster portal traversal, more portals in general so that you can put more on the map. You'd probably need slower portal cleanses. The survivors want to commit to cleansing portals. It'll have to be a significant time sink. So that way, again, 2-3 survivors don't just hop on a portal as soon as you teleport away. And lastly, I think you lean into the fact that they've recently buffed his stealth when he comes out of a portal. Keep that the same or even higher. Make teleporting through a portal give a pretty lengthy stealth. So you have a little bit of stealth and shred. I think that would be really neat for Demogorgon. And then you also could use a class that wasn't Shadow on him. Demogorgon, 10 out of 10, get him in there, give him a few buffs, and let's see what he can do. Twins, I'm gonna say no. Again, it's a weird combination between she's too strong and too weak. In a regular game of Dead by Daylight, the twins excels in slugging. I kind of feel like it wouldn't work in 2v8. If you were to use Victor to pounce on a healthy survivor, they'll abduct Victor, run off. Whether they smash him or not, you're powerless M1 killer in a giant map with tons of pallets now. In the event you do get a lot of survivors injured and Victor can run around slugging, the reality is most of the time you're gonna have at least 2 survivors together, so you down one and the other one can kick Victor, putting your power on cooldown. Even if you do slug multiples, there's tons of survivors to get them up. There's almost instantaneous heals with heal bombs and heal class. And on top of that, everybody can unbreakable by using their class power. Having unlimited universal unbreakable on a killer that excels in slugging, I just think it doesn't. I think there's too many reasons that the twins don't work. Twins really need to snowball to be effective, and that snowball is far less effective in a 2v8 setting. So we're gonna say no to Charlotte and Victor. Trickster will go in the yes column. Now, I am not a big fan of Trickster, but for you Trickster mains out there, I gotta say, I can't see any reason not to include Trickster in 2v8. The ability to rank up should be pretty quick, because if you can get multiple tags on multiple survivors. He is a little bit low mobility, which again is such a problem for killers, but he has a lot of snowball potential. If you get a main event on one of those situations where a survivor gets unhooked and 3 people are hovering around trying to reset, you come around the corner with main event and boom, that is massive for you. Things that I think Trickster needs to be viable, you'd have to be able to carry a few more daggers, just like Huntress has a higher inventory, and probably give the effects of any add-ons that increase movement speed while throwing daggers, and maybe dagger throw speed and stuff like that. Sadly, I have to put Pinhead in the no as well. Currently, Behavior does not have access to the Hellraiser chapter, so we're gonna have to put Pinhead in no. I think he could have been interesting. I think that the box mechanic might have been a little too easy to deal with for survivors anyway. You might have needed to have a scenario where 2 boxes are active and both of them have to be solved in order to reset the chain hunt. But regardless, Pinhead, it shoulda, woulda, coulda, can't be in there, so we're gonna move on. Artist to me is a no-brainer. Artist is a yes. All day, yes. Not only is she great at anti-loop and being able to shut down pallets, she also has strong map presence and information. She's able to challenge generators from anywhere on the map, shooting birds across the map, potentially swarming survivors, giving you and your partner information of where you can find survivors, not just where they are, but where specific ones are if you're trying to tunnel a particular one out and try and even the score a little bit. She can be really strong in shutting down multiple loops because she has multiple birds that can block off multiple pallets and windows at the same time. I think she would be fantastic. I think it's a no-brainer for what buff she needs. She'll need severed hands by default, so birds spread. I kind of think she should have that by default anyway. I feel like that should be part of her base kit, regardless. She should have 4 birds instead of 3, and she should have a pretty reasonable cooldown for the birds to come back as well. She's not very mobile, but she can shoot from across the map, so give her strength in the bird so that her low mobility doesn't come into play. Okay, we're on to Sadako the Onryo. I'm putting Onryo in maybe. Initially, when I was making this list, I put yes, no, yes, no, yes, no beside all the killers' names, and then started making notes about like how they would work, what I would add to them and whatnot. And originally I said no to Onryo, but after second consideration, I think she could maybe be in 2v8. Spreading Condemned could be interesting. Spreading Condemned to 8 different survivors could be interesting. And as survivors start to accumulate Condemned stacks, that could then slow down the generators and you know, offset the fact that she's not very strong in chase. She has TVs to teleport to all across the map, so mobility is nice as well. Unfortunately, unlike Freddy, survivors can just shut off the TVs, so she loses that. But that is also map information. Hey, they just shut that TV off. I bet they're over there. There must be some people working on that generator. If she were to come in, she would need TVs to have a shorter cooldown before they turn back on. And we'd need to make sure that your partner could see both the condemned stacks on the HUD as well as what TVs are on or off. So that way, if your partner killer notices a TV turn off, they can potentially head over there and see what's going on. Next is the Nightmare Turkey, the Dredge. I said yes to Dredge. Could you imagine it being nightfall and suddenly a Billy comes out of the darkness? That would be terrifying, hilarious, and really fun. It might be a little powerful. I agree this one is kind of on the verge. You might have to make it so that the other killer doesn't get undetectable. You still get terror radius and whatnot, I still think the Nightfall mechanic could be really cool. The offset is in chase with a lot of pallets. Dredge's remnant form and teleporting back to his husk would be less effective than in a regular game. So that's why I think the Nightfall is a decent balance. It's almost like Dredge is too weak, but the universal power that it gives to the team could be strong. The things that Dredge needs to be viable, all injuries need to build to Nightfall. So even if your partner gets an injury, you need to make sure that that is going to build your Nightfall. Maybe give a bonus when Dredge gets the initial hit, but all injuries should gradually build up Nightfall. Your partner needs to be able to see the killer instinct during Nightfall. If you teleport to a locker, your partner needs to be able to see the killer instinct of any nearby survivors, just like the Dredge does. I think that a shorter cooldown while outside of Nightfall could be important because of all the pallets. Not a lot, but a little bit, somewhere in between Nightfall cooldown and regular cooldown. I think maybe a little bit faster movement while holding your power just to offset all the pallets. There's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts when it comes to the Dredge. I still think it could be really cool. We'll just have to wait and see. Okay, this is gonna be controversial. I'm putting Knight in maybe. I say it's controversial because I'm sure a lot of you out there would rather I just said no and throw him in the toilet. I like Knight. I do. I think there's some really interesting things you can do with Knight. I think a lot of people don't like the Knight because you're being chased by AI, but the AI is very predictable, so I think it's fair. He has 3 minions. Only one of his minions can be effectively used to help get a hit on a survivor you're chasing, and that's the jailer. The Carnifex or the assassin, if you're chasing the survivor that's being chased by your minion, the minion only lasts for a few seconds and then it's gone because of your proximity. The strength of Knight is to pressure multiple survivors at the same time, which I think offsets the fact that he's not a very mobile killer. So you can send an assassin out to go chase around a survivor. Assassins can get hits. They move 4.4. You can send out a Carnifex to either kick a generator or chase a survivor, even though they're not as good in chase as the other two. Things you would need to make the Knight viable. 1, proximity to the minions needs to work on both killers. You can't be a Dracula tag teaming a survivor with a Carnifex chasing them and the Carnifex lasts the full amount of time. That's not fair. You'd have to take that off. At the same time, Knight would be pretty weak. I honestly think in 2v8 with such a huge map, the things he needs is built-in map of the realm so you can send longer patrol paths. You need longer chase duration. You could make an argument for the iridescent add-on that when you kick a generator or a pallet, the minion then stays there and will chase anybody for a few seconds if anyone's still in the proximity. You could do that because again, you're going to be trying to lock down 8 survivors on multiple generators across the map. And here's my hot take, my wild hot take. I think you could send out 2 minions at once. I think that at any given time, you could send out 2 minions. In general, you'd have to be economical with sending them out because if you send out 2 and then another one right away, suddenly you're on cooldown, you're an M1 killer with a sword. I think he could be interesting. I understand why people wouldn't want him. I'm going to put him in maybe. I'm leaning towards yes, but I'm absolutely understand why people would riot about that. Skull Merchant. My opinion on Skull Merchant has changed so much over the years. Skull Merchant is really funny because I used to hate her when she first came out. She was miserable to go against. They literally changed the regression rules, limited to 8 regression events on generators because of Skull Merchant before her rework. Now she's weak. She's a genuinely weak killer. A really locked in great Skull Merchant can keep stealthy for 90% of the match by reclaiming her drones. She's still very weak. She seems like she'd really struggle. There's 8 survivors out there who can disable your drones, essentially destroying her power. The only way I could see making her viable is maybe switch it up again and make it that she gets stealth on deployment of a drone as opposed to now when she reclaims a drone. I don't really know how to make her strong enough to be viable in 2v8. I feel like she would just be a handicap every time. So if you guys have any ideas of how to make Skull Merchant viable in 2v8, please let me know because I don't really have any better ideas. Singularity is going to be maybe leaning towards yes. I would love to see Singularity, but he could be very oppressive. Because 2v8 invites killers to duo with their friends. God, I love duoing in 2v8. I love teaming up with my friends in 2v8 and doing killer duos. Because of that, you will have insane map knowledge. Even if the survivors EMP one of your biopods, you can still see through it. You can call out to your Oni, to your nurse, to your Billy, where they can go and find a lot of fresh meat, to your Blight. You could send insane information by having both killers know what's going on in the cameras. You would need to provide the survivors with more EMP spawns, but you would also, I think, need to give Singularity more biopods so that way we can cover more areas of the map. Otherwise, bigger map, more generators, he would seem impossibly weak. What I would give him, it would be more pods, longer range for tagging slipstreams, and your partner needs to be able to see killer instinct from slipstreams spreading between survivors. I think Singularity could be interesting because you might see more of him in 2v8 and then maybe more people would learn how to counterplay him. He is a good killer, but he has counterplay. Maybe leaning towards yes. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to say no for the Xenomorph, and I'll explain why. Xenomorph seems insanely complicated on both sides. Imagine going into your tunnel and trying to navigate to one of 13 different exits, because that's how many generators there are, and that's how many exits there would be to your tunnels. That seems miserable. It's not like Freddy teleporting to a generator. You actually physically have to make the motion of crawling around the tunnels. That would be miserable. In addition to that, you would need to really increase the number of turrets you could have, because there's so many different places to defend. Survivors in normal games have 4 turrets. What do you give, 8? I don't know how you do that. It feels like a whole lot of extra work for both sides. If the survivors are given ample protection through flamethrowers, you're just a weaker mobile killer with an M1. I just feel like it's just too much to deal with, too much to figure out, too boring on both sides, and I just don't see it being very effective. Unknown. Man, have I come around on the unknown. I used to not be a huge unknown fan, but I don't know. The recent buffs have been pretty good. We're putting him in yes. I think that unknown could be a really, really good addition to 2v8. You could have a ton of long-range lobs. You could mortar shot generators where there's 3 survivors working on from a long distance. I think the opportunity for multiple hits based on how survivors tend to swarm together in packs in 2v8 could be really interesting. He might struggle a little bit with his mobility, because even though he can leave behind the hallucinations, there's so many survivors to cleanse them. So I think you might need to mess around a little bit to find the good balance. You'd probably need to increase the number of hallucinations, increase the amount of time it takes to cleanse them, and reduce the cooldown on your teleport. Now, unknown is kind of a weaker killer too. You know the joke, the unknown is the harmless. You could potentially give him the add-on that puts survivors in the weakened state when they complete a generator. That might be too strong, but there's counterplay to it. Everybody lets go of the generator but one person. Survivors would be aware of it going in because all the buffs are public knowledge. So it might bridge the gap between how weak he is and being able to put pressure on multiple survivors at once. I think you could do that. That might be too strong. Regardless, I think the unknown could be great. Just needs a little bit of help with the teleport control. The Lich, the OG Vecna. Yes, all day, yes. Put Vecna in, yes. I think he could be great. He has all the hallmarks of a great killer for a 2v8 match. You've got pretty strong abilities in chase. You've got great information that you can share between you and your partner, and you've also got good mobility. I think all of those reasons, he'd be a great addition. Not too oppressive, but a ton of tools in his tool belt. Obviously, both killers would need to be able to see when the orb hits a survivor. We're going to need killer instinct being universal. I think it is universal in general, but I like to mention that. You could get some disgustingly cool combos. Like, imagine somebody's looping a Billy and you hold the pallet so they can't drop it. That would be amazing. Imagine your partner's chasing a survivor and you snipe a damage with a skeleton from a distance. I think that would be amazing. Some really cool skill shots and whatnot. What does he need? Obviously, shorter cooldowns on his spells. Vecna is very strong when his spells are available, but very weak when they're not. We don't want to make it too bad, but maybe 5 seconds on each could be something that would be decent all the way around. I would say maybe take the magic items away. Don't give the survivors the chests. That takes away some of the play against him, but also I don't really feel like it's necessary, and some of it might be too strong. Specifically, I think the orb and the fly, because it tells you where the killer is, where they're going, and also allows you to deny information. I think all those reasons you might be take the chest. Just take the chest right out of it. Vecna has an add-on that while flying has a lower terror radius. I think that would be a really good base kit for 2v8 as well. Give him a little bit more ability to sneak up on people. You could add some other effects from some existing add-ons, like when you get hit with the dispelling orb, it makes you exhausted, or when you hit survivors after casting a spell, you give them sloppy butcher or something along those lines. There's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot of different ways you can tweak him. In general, though, fantastic addition. Get Vecna in there. That might be my number one pick for who should come to 2v8. The Houndmaster. Okay, I'm going to say this with a grain of salt. I'm going to say yes to the Houndmaster, but she's so buggy. We got to fix that behavior. But besides that, Houndmaster could be really interesting. She has chase capabilities, kind of like the Slinger. She's another killer with great combo potential, similar to Deathslinger and Wesker. Wesker has someone pinned against the wall. Partner comes and 2-taps them. Slinger has someone harpooned. 3, 2, 1, hit them at the same time. Houndmaster and Snug could do the exact same thing. I know survivors hate that. I hate that as survivor, but just remember, there's 2 killers here. You got the rest of the map to do generators. She also has great mobility, sending Snug out with Hound Sense, being able to follow the path, so mobility is not going to be a problem for her. I think Houndmaster could be great again. Just fix some of the bugs. Okay, this is the only one where I've got like a maybe/no. The Ghoul, I'm going to put in maybe. I'm leaning towards no. He's, again, another too easy to injure killer. Him and Oni would be insane. He's basically Legion, but with way better mobility. Mending is such a pain in 2v8 that I feel like Ghoul just shouldn't, you know, I'm gonna put him in no. I think he could be fun, but there's just too much going on. I gotta say no. I'm not a huge Ghoul hater like some people out there. I just can't see a way to put him in there, keep it be fair and not be kind of easy mode. Springtrap. I literally just recorded saying that he should be yes, but I think in the discussion that I had with myself, I think I'm gonna put him in maybe. I think he's too weak. He has his doors for mobility, but the problem with that is the survivors can use the doors for mobility as well. Springtrap is not really gonna catch you going through doors when there's 8 survivors. So anyone's in chase with them at the time, you're free to move across the map wherever you want. Survivors could very easily access 13 different doors, and those 13 doors could give wall hacks on Springtrap by using the cameras. On top of that, he has 1 hatchet, and survivors have sprint burst on command. I feel like he would need a massive amount of quality of life buffs in order to make him viable. He would need a significantly faster cooldown on his axe, a significantly longer amount of stealth. You might even have to make the doors not usable by the survivors. I don't know. There's a lot you'd have to do to change him, and I just feel like he's a little too weak to put into 2v8. Crossu, this is kind of a bias. I hate Crossu. I hate her. I'm putting her in no. I feel like cleansing would just be annoying. It would be too easy to infect everybody. If you don't cleanse right away, you get broken. The alternative being that counterplay to Crossu is once somebody gets spit on and she goes into head mode, you can body block as long as you're not infected because then she can't hurt you. I think it'd be really hard to play her because there's a ton of pallets. I think it'd be miserable to be constantly cleansing against her. And I don't know. I didn't put a whole ton of thought into Crossu. I just can't be bothered. I don't want her there. Vecna 2.0. Vecna, the Stranger Things Vecna. I'm putting Henry in yes. Sorry, it's kind of under my face at this point. I think Vecna could be incredibly fun. Vecna is pretty easy to counter. You just have to press W and run away. There's a lot of pallets. There's a lot of line of sight blockers on a lot of different maps, making him difficult to play. But with so many different targets, could be interesting, could be fun. You could get multiple hits on multiple survivors. He's pretty easy to juke if you get used to him. But having a second killer in the mix might make it a little easier for him to hit. He has almost no cooldown on his Vine attack, and his Vine attack has a pretty good range on it. So if you're avoiding one killer and he comes in and starts hitting you with Vine attacks, getting into World Breaker mode, that could turn into a crazy snowball. So I think Henry in 2v8 would be very similar to Henry in 1v4. Weak until World Breaker, and then incredibly strong. Potential for a lot of snowball. Plus, just having World Breaker mode in 2v8 could be super cool. Imagine you're walking along as a Huntress or as a Pyramid Head dragging your sword behind you and the whole skybox turns red. I think that'd be really cool. The only thing I would change about him is I would give him a faster cooldown for his under portal so he had more mobility. I wouldn't change the under portal attack. It's easy to dodge. It should stay easy to dodge, but he should be able to use it for mobility more often. And last but not least, I mean, okay, listen, I'm putting Jason in yes. Jason comes out this week. I'm gonna put Jason in yes. I have no idea how it's gonna work, whether it would or not, but I mean, it's probably a foregone conclusion that you're gonna see Jason versus Freddy in 2v8. I think that'd be hilarious. I'm really looking forward to the release of Jason. Don't know enough about his kit. Haven't played it. Didn't play it on the PTB. I've seen all the videos and whatnot, but I don't have enough to tell you how I would balance him, but he could be super fun. That's all. I'm just going to leave it at that. Anyways, there's my picks for 2v8. I think I gave pretty good reasons why yes or why no. The maybes could all kind of lean towards yes. A few of them are too strong. A few of them are too weak. You could do some balancing. I think the no's just would be too difficult to make work, but I would love to see these killers in 2v8 the next time it comes out. Obviously, they're going to release some over time. I also think it'd be kind of neat if every time there's a 2v8, they pick a selection of killers. We'll take these 10 killers and they're available this time. And then the next time, well, we don't have Wraith this time, but instead we've got Artist. And we don't have Oni this time, but instead we've got Vecna. Like, I think that'd be kind of neat if you mixed and matched it a little bit. And if you did that, you could take Oni out of the mix and add in a killer like Plague or Legion again. Anyways, do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you like what I cooked up here? Let me know in the comments down below. Share this with your friends. And if you want more Dead by Daylight content, go ahead and give me a follow. I've been putting out shorts. I'm trying to put out more long videos. Sorry, it's been so long between my last video, but I'll have more coming in the future. I'm probably going to be doing a how I would fix Dead by Daylight video pretty soon. It's going to take a little bit of work to get all my thoughts together. So thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to check me out on Twitch Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, 7 p.m. Central Time. I play Killer on Monday, Survivor on Tuesday, and I play other games the rest of the week. Have a great day, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.